Hey dudes, welcome to Splat from the Past, the only 80s themed horror and sci-fi show where things can get totally radical. Now today I will be interviewing an actress you may only know from one American movie, and that is Another 48 Hours. She played the bartender in the club in the movie. Her name is Cathy Haase. A movie called Little Noises right after that and stuff, but like 48 Hours was like the biggest hit film she was in. I'm going to find out why she didn't make any more American movies other than those two, and also find out about her early days in New York when she was a struggling actress studying the all the best, the Method guys and stuff. And also, I'd like to say Happy St. Paddy's Day. It's kind of a sad day, though, because Dick Dale, the king of the surf guitar, passed away. The guy who does that song Miserlou, the surf rock instrumental at the beginning of Pulp Fiction. He passed away at 82. Rest in peace, king of the surf guitar. And here is my interview with Cathy Haase.
Hello.
Hi, Cathy.
Hey, hi.
How are you?
I'm great. You called me on my cell phone. That's cool.
Yeah.
So, what's going on in California?
Oh, nothing much. Good weather. It's St. Paddy's Day.
Oh, right. Yeah, they celebrated yesterday here.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, I don't know why. I guess more time to celebrate.
Yeah, plus it was Saturday, so everyone's got to work tomorrow.
Right. And something to do with St. Patty's Church, it's, they couldn't do it on Sunday. They had to do it on Saturday.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, just so you know, being part Irish, I have a dark gallows sense of humor, so you could swear all you want on this podcast.
Oh, okay. And I'm well familiar with that type of humor. What'd you call it? Dark gallows?
Yeah, dark gallows humor.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So, going back to the beginning, was acting something that was on your radar early on?
No, actually it wasn't. It was more like dancing and music that I was interested in, particularly dancing. And so I was always trying to get myself in some kind of a dancing thing. Mostly it started out with Polish folk dancing because I grew up in Williamsburg, Brooklyn. And even though I'm not Polish, I'm Slovak and Hungarian, but close enough. Mm-hmm. And, that was the thing that was offered to us as little kids. And I always enjoyed that sort of dressing up in the costumes and performing and that type of stuff. And then in junior high school, someone stuck a clarinet in my hand, and I played clarinet like really intensely all through my teens, and I went to the High School of Performing Arts. So I don't know if you know that school in New York City. They made the movie Fame out of it and the television series.
Oh, yeah. I know that place. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to high school there at like 13, 14 years old, and that's when everything sort of, became clear that performing arts was going to be the path. I had Ellen Barkin and Glenn Headley were in my class, and some of the kids were performing on Broadway because it was. I was in the music department, and then there was a dance department, and there was a drama department. Mm-hmm. And all of my friends were the dramatists in the drama department, so I hung out with them all the time.
Wow. And Glenn Headley, she later went on to do the Steppenwolf Theater in Chicago. She's like one of the founding members.
Exactly. And she was one of my best buddies in high school.
Oh.
Yeah, who knew? And we just did theater games all the time. We used to go to Central Park every Saturday and do like street theater stuff. It was the early 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And, it just completely encompassed my world. And I would go to auditions with them and not audition, and then people would say, "Excuse me, could you read?" Or I'd say, "Yeah, of course I can read," And I didn't quite understand what they meant. I came from a working class family in Brooklyn, and wasn't very streetwise, very streetwise, but no, wasn't really worldwise about like what it meant to be an actor and in the business. And it sort of fell on me by chance. People always used to say to me, "Oh, you're an actress," and I'd say, "No, I'm not. I'm a dancer and musician." And then finally, I gave in.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. I when I was a kid, I thought acting was dumb.
Yeah.
But it really got me later on.
Mm-hmm.
And because I was so intensely in that environment, I knew all the acting exercises and terms and how to work on a part from my friends.
Mm-hmm.
And when it really turned around for me is I got a job as a dancer in Europe, and I went to Europe on a tour, and there I met some people that were doing theater. They had this English-speaking theater in Frankfurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I literally walked in on an audition just by chance, and I got the leading part in their next production, this is one of these black box off sort of things,
Mm-hmm.
where the actors were very much in charge of what was going on. There wasn't a big hierarchy of any sort. And so I worked with them for 2 years, and that's where I met my teacher from the Actors Studio, Walter Lott.
Mm-hmm.
And that then really sort of drastically changed my life,
Mm-hmm. Did you get...
It was, this is still, I'm like in my early 20s. So...
Did you get to see...
go ahead, I'm sorry.
Oh, did you get to see Stella Adler and Lee Strasberg there?
When I came back to the States, Lee Strasberg had already died.
Mm-hmm.
So I never met Strasberg, but I did know, Paul Newman, and I still know Ellen Burstyn and Al Pacino and Alec Baldwin and all of those people that are involved in the Actors Studio. I'm a member there for many years now, and it's sort of part of our DNA in that place that those people are around, And,
yeah.
and of course, Ellen Burstyn of Exorcist and Requiem of a Dream fame runs the place,
Mm-hmm.
still in her 90s.
Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's really, it was a dream of mine to be, once I understood what it was all about, it was a dream of mine to be part of that organization, because it's, once you get in, it's lifetime membership.
Mm-hmm.
And there are very little rules in terms of, there's no dues, there's no, you don't have to do anything. But the only thing that you kind of have to do is this work that we do.
Yeah.
Which is often referred to as method acting, but it's many different things. It's not just that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of in a nutshell how I wound up in acting.
Mm-hmm.
And from Frank, this acting teacher, Walter Lott, was going to do a workshop in Berlin. Now we're talking West Germany and West Berlin, with the wall. And this is 1979 or so.
Yeah.
And he was doing a workshop in Berlin, and I followed him there to be his assistant. train in the zoo. It's called the Bahnhof Zoo. It's a train station, and it was the main train station when it was West Berlin. The minute I got off the train, I said, man, I love this city. It was wild. And I stayed there for 4 years. And that's how I got into film, because Berlin was very much involved with underground and, in the film scene.
Mm-hmm.
Music and film. And that's where I started to move from theater into experimental film and video at that time. And then, major motion picture, as they say.
Yeah. Did you get to do Broadway though in New York?
No, that's still on my bucket list, man. I never did Broadway. Broadway's a great gig, and you really have to be, first of all, it wasn't my trajectory. It wasn't the thing that I was going for in a certain period of time. Mm-hmm. And to do it now is really, it would really be like, I'd have to be really lucky
mm-hmm.
to get in there, because you have to be in shape. They do 8 shows a week.
Yeah.
So it's not, and it's the same show. So it's not like doing a run in a smaller theater.
Yeah, I don't know how they do that. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. And what's really amazing to me is the people who sing and dance in those shows, which I wouldn't do at this point. I would just be acting.
Mm-hmm.
My dancing days in that way are over. But the thing that I concentrate on more now is I would really love to be in like a Netflix original or one of these television series. That to me would be fabulous.
Yeah, it's becoming really successful now. I mean, they're making so many a year now.
Yeah, and they're shooting a lot of them in New York, and which is where I live. And there are so many interesting scripts,
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where my concentration would be more so than Broadway.
I see.
At this point in time. Although, I would not turn down a Broadway show, of course.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not where I'm putting my focus. I'm much more interested really in the film and television medium than I am in theater at this point.
Yeah, that's understandable. I've interviewed a few people who were in New York in the 70s, and they told me how amazing it was because there was this new wave of actors that had hit New York, and they had virtually no money, but they had plenty of creativity and just this will to learn their craft.
Oh, it was awesome, really awesome, and in the 80s too, before the city became so outrageously expensive. Because in the 70s, you literally could get off the bus at Port Authority from wherever with $100 in your pocket, which
mm-hmm.
just about everybody could pull together.
Yeah,
$100 if you really wanted to, and you could get a cheap room and a job, and you could start. Now, of course, that's not possible.
No.
It's just not. I'm sure it's the same in LA and places like that. Other places. I lived in the East Village on 11th Street and Avenue B. I worked in Life Cafe.
Mm-hmm.
And you could work your bartending in whatever shift 3-4 nights a week, and then do the rest of your stuff that you wanted to do, and you could live. But now it's I don't know how people pull that off without having rich parents.
Yeah, it's just it's insane. I don't know, how the next generation is going to do it. It's just insane.
Well, they're going to do it virtually. The whole. It's happening in New York, but it's happening further and further away from Manhattan. It's happening in Brooklyn and Queens and the Bronx, and it's not the same kind of metropolis like it was before. thing about New York in the 70s and the 80s was that, and of course the times before that, but particularly in the 70s and 80s, is that you had, us natives. I mean, I'm a native New Yorker. You had us natives, and you had the really rich people, and you had the really famous people, and you had the people that were coming here, and everybody mixed together. So, you would go out, and even as a teenager, you would go out to these places, and, you'd be sitting next to Stevie Wonder and, some top fashion designer and a bunch of junkie whores, know. and it was all mixed up together. Mm-hmm. And that made for a very creative, alive environment,
Yeah.
Which, I guess every generation laments the times that were. This sort of stuff that's happening that I'm just not aware of, that people are going to be talking in 20, 30 years about how they miss it. But certainly finances, I mean, the reality of living in a place like New York has greatly changed its creative thrust.
Yeah.
It's not cutting edge anymore in that way.
Yeah.
And I'm just happy that I was there when it was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because you got to be a part of that and got to take away some great stories.
Oh yeah, there are many. And also living in West Berlin, when it was a walled-in city, and it was really vibrant.
Mm-hmm.
Also very cheap to live there.
Mm-hmm. Now, according to... Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, you go ahead.
According to IMDb.com, one of the first movies you did in Germany, you were in this German movie that Dennis Hopper did called White Star.
Yes, I was. Yes, that was my first real film.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, White Star. That was a trip, man.
I'd never seen it.
You've never seen it? No, well, it's not. It can be seen. It's available. It says here, it says here 1983. It was actually shot probably before that, in 81 or so. That was Roland Klick. I made another movie with Roland Klick in German. White Star is also in German, but we shot in English. Mm-hmm. And then it was dubbed. Dennis Hopper was flying, man. He was on everything but skate. That was before he stopped drinking and drugging, and he was out there.
Yeah.
he was out there. I mean, I knew a lot of stoned, crazy people, but I never met anybody that was as stoned as he was and could still function. It was incredible. Mm-hmm. And I was like the only other American on the set.
Wow.
There was a point when we were shooting in a big sound studio somewhere, because it's about a rock star.
Right.
That's what, and so we had these studio shoots, and we were in this big, like one of these places it's like a little village, and it's all sound studios, mm-hmm. out in the middle of nowhere. And Dennis Hopper had not bodyguards, but let's say, people that accompanied him everywhere to keep him in line, so that he was able to shoot. And at one point, I saw him. I realized where his room was, where he was staying, because there were like these little suites that we had. And so I went down the hall, mm-hmm. and I knocked on his door, and I said, "Hey, Dennis, man, I'm an American too." And so we sat there for like 2 hours talking, and I have no idea what he was talking about.
Yeah.
He was just like waxing poetic about, wow, he was really out there. But he worked really well. I mean, when it came time to shoot, he was together. It was phenomenal. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah.
With and of course, in those days, there was a lot of coke on the set. Him and the director were doing lots of coke. Things got, it took a long time to get things done. There was a lot of waiting around and a lot of conversation that you had no idea what they were talking about. And of course, the Germans, they spoke English, but they didn't speak English really well. So the communication was a little bizarre.
Was everyone having sex backstage?
Not that I was aware of. No, I think they were too high. I really do. I really think that was, it was beyond that stage. They were just too high. But everyone went into, not me, because I wasn't on it that long. I mean, they shot for months.
Mm-hmm.
But I think everybody went into rehab after that shoot.
Wow.
And everyone had Dennis had a broken arm, and the director Roland had Dennis drove over his foot, and everybody had an injury, a cast or a sling or yeah. It wasn't as bad as Apocalypse Now, but
yeah.
That's one of my favorite things to watch is Hearts of Darkness, the documentary about the making of Apocalypse Now.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Yeah, it wasn't that bad, but it was loose.
Yeah. So how did you get so lucky into being cast in another 48 Hours?
Wow, that was really, you put that correctly, man, because I'd been in a movie called The Kill-Off, which was a low-budget adaptation of Jim Thompson novel, one of those dime store novel things. And it was directed by Maggie Greenwald. And Maggie Greenwald and I also went to high school together.
Oh.
With Glenn Headley. Yeah, she was. And I ran into her by chance at Anthology Film Archives. I don't know if you know that place. That's a big film place in New York for experimental and underground films. And I was working there. And we ran into each other. We hadn't seen each other in a million years since high school. And she said, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I said, "Oh, I'm acting now." And she said, "Wow, I'm directing." Mm-hmm. She cast me after many auditions in this film, where I played Danny Lee, the stripper, hooker with a heart of gold type of character. And the movie was made for $200,000. It was a low budget, 3 weeks shoot in freezing cold weather. And but Maggie had worked for Walter Hill as an editor, I believe. And so even though the Kill-Off had, that was the days when the movies didn't go right to VHS or DVD. They had to play in the movie theaters. So it had a minimal release and a certain amount of success within the underground world. But, most people didn't see it, didn't know it. It wasn't a big success. Mm-hmm. So one day, when I literally didn't know whether to kill myself or go bowling, some woman called me and said, "Hi, I'm from Paramount Casting, and we would like for you, we just saw you in The Kill-Off, and we would like for you to audition for this new Eddie Murphy movie." And I was like, "Get the fuck out of here." I thought it was a joke.
Yeah.
I really thought it was a joke. And she said, no. I said, "How did you see it?" She said, "Oh, we all saw it. We loved your performance. We really want you to audition for this." Mm-hmm. And, we thought it was great. We're going to ask and see if we can get you to audition. And I said, oh, okay. So they sent me the sides, and I auditioned here in New York City. It was the first on-camera audition like that I had ever done, where it was like in a real casting office, and there was all these really serious people in there. And I came in, I had punked out white hair and, my little mini skirt and push-up bra, and I went in there and I did my best. And the next day I was in Life Cafe working as a bartender, and my husband came in and said, Cathy, they're sending you the script. You're in the running for this part.
Mm-hmm.
And they want you to call them. So I called them from the kitchen of this restaurant, and they said that it was down to 2 people between me and someone else, and that they were sending me the script, and that they would let me know in another day or so.
Mm-hmm.
And they chose me. It was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they never met me. They chose me, and at that time, that was very unusual that they would choose you from just from an audition. Usually you had to meet them. But because they knew the other movie and all the other stuff, I guess they figured it would be okay. And from one day to the next, I flew out to L.A.
Mm-hmm.
and was taken from the airport to the Paramount parking lot, where I met Walter Hill, who happened to be talking to Whoopi Goldberg and Arsenio Hall.
Mm-hmm.
It was like being on acid. It was just totally bizarre.
Yeah, that is pretty bizarre.
Huh?
That is pretty bizarre.
I mean, it really came from the work. I mean, that's the thing that we always say at the studio is like the work works. Just do the work.
Mm-hmm.
And it just came from that, I was just really lucky. Thank you, Jackie Bird. She was the casting director. She was the one who took the initiative to see the movie and call me up.
Mm-hmm.
And, I worked really hard on the preparation for that part. But, I mean, I had been a bartender in lots of kinds of bars and stuff, so it wasn't exactly a stretch,
Mm-hmm.
When they were explaining the part to me, like on the set, I was like, yeah, I think I understand what's going on here,
Mm-hmm.
And certainly it was a blast. It was a very, very different experience than other films that I had worked on.
Mm-hmm. Now, had you
being in?
go ahead. Had you seen the first one?
Yeah, sure. And,
Yeah.
And also I've seen the first one, and as soon as I had actually seen some of other Walter Hill's movies, and of course I knew Eddie Murphy's work, from Saturday Night Live and also the Beverly Hills Cops movies.
Oh yeah, he was huge.
So I knew all of that stuff, but I wasn't so aware of Walter Hill's work. I had seen the movies, but I hadn't really thought about them, like in terms of cinema, as how great they are. So I watched all of his movies that he had made up until that point. And it's a genre that I really like. I like that action genre from the 80s. I like those movies. I like them now, too. I mean, I like going to the movies to see a big action flick.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something I like to do. So I felt very comfortable on the set, and while we were shooting, like those motorcycle guys who are play those tough characters in the film,
Mm-hmm.
were like the sweetest guys, and they had done a lot of theater. And so in between the takes, when we were, when you hang around and you're still on your marks, but but the text stuff is being done and you're just hanging there. We sang all the songs from My Fair Lady. We were singing like Broadway show tunes in harmony. Yeah, it was really sweet. And then we would, Walter would say, "Okay, come on, stop that. We got to do this." And they would say, "Okay, where's the?" They would put on those other voices and stuff. The actors are really fun.
Yeah. And I'm sure Eddie had an entourage on the set with him.
Oh, man, Eddie and his entourage.
Oh, God. I'm a stand-up comedian, and I know a lot of comedians who started out with him back in the 70s when he was like 15, 16. He had an entourage then.
Well, the thing with Eddie was he couldn't get up in the morning,
Mm-hmm.
So this whole thing on the set, we started, I was there at 5:30 for all, as a woman, for all the makeup and hair and everything. Nick Nolte got there at 9, and we would start shooting by 10.
Mm-hmm.
Now, often you would just do something simple, but the whole thing was we would be waiting for Eddie to get there. So they would say, "Okay, we got a launch." A launch means they left the house and they were on their way. He had a bus, like a tour bus.
Yeah.
It was packed with people. And we would be on the set and you hear, "Okay, Eddie approaching the set, Eddie approaching the set." And then like 35, 40 people would come on the set. And they all seemed to have like their and they were all guys, mostly guys. And, New York, LA, street kid vibe. Lots of gold jewelry, because those were the days when everybody wore that gold stuff.
Yeah.
And they would just come onto the set and go into all different places. Like, it's not like they followed him. They would just take different positions around the whole set, including like up next to me. You know? And I'm from New York, so these guys were like very familiar to me, and they would say something like, I think the first thing one of them said to me was, "So what's your husband do?" Like that, that old line of like, "Are you married?" Like, you cut right to the chase and you say like, "What's your husband do?" So I said, "Oh man, you really got your lines down there. You're just gonna fly right on me here." And the guy laughed.
Mm-hmm.
I got along with them really well. And Eddie and I got along like wildfire. Because he's from Corona, Queens.
Yeah.
My aunt actually sold him his first Porsche. She was a Porsche Audi saleswoman. And she sold him his first Porsche. We always heard stories about him buying cars on Northern Boulevard. And he seemed very familiar to me. Like a kid I could have went to school with or something.
Yeah.
High school, So he would come on, the whole entourage. They would give him his lines, his sides for the day. He would go, "Oh man, this is what we're doing. I'm not ready," and he would leave. So they would all leave. He would be on they would all be there for maybe 10, 15 minutes, and then they would all leave.
Mm-hmm.
And he would go back to his bus, and he would rewrite the scene, and he'd come back an hour later, and we'd shoot. And he didn't rewrite other people's parts. He only rewrote his own.
Mm-hmm.
And it was always better than what had been on the page. And all of his, he didn't change things tremendously, but he just made it more, his style and alive.
Mm-hmm.
He was a lot of fun to work with. He was really, really great. And very professional once he started shooting.
Yeah.
He really like a great guy to work with.
Oh, that's good.
And at one point, he was in the scene that we were doing. There's this thing where he says, "You got a gun? You got a gun?" And he had more lines. I didn't have any lines, but the camera was on me, and he said, "You got a gun?" And he didn't say anything else. So I said, "Yeah, I got a gun, but I'm not giving it to you. And the whole crew burst out laughing, including him. And the director, Walter Hill, got really mad at me.
Mm-hmm.
Said, "Don't do that. You're not supposed to do that. If he doesn't give you the line, just don't say anything. Don't ever make up any lines." And Eddie totally defended me. He said, "Don't you get on her. What she did was right. You wanted a New York actress, and now you've got a New York actress, and she's going to do it the way she thinks is right, and I think she's great." And everybody it was really quite a moment where he, stood up for me, laughed, we started laughing, and after that we kind of had a wonderful, wonderful time working together. The connection, he was very present, and we would fool around in the makeup tent, and, really nice atmosphere. I mean, that's also was due to Walter, because everybody that worked on his set, everybody, so they all knew each other, and unlike some of the other sets I've been on, things worked really smoothly,
Mm-hmm.
Really accommodating for whatever Eddie needed to be at his best. No one ever said anything bad about him coming late or do. He did what he needed to do to bring his best performances, and certainly he delivers.
Mm-hmm. Sure does.
Yeah.
I had a huge crush on you in this movie.
You're kidding.
Mm-mm.
You say that to all the girls.
I do, and I mean every single one of them.
Oh, that's really nice.
Well,
It's nice to hear.
Well, the funny thing is, for 7 years, I was a bouncer in 2 different bars, and all the patrons hated me because I slept with all the bartenders. So I got to make my fantasies of you a reality.
Oh, how nice! Good for you.
Mm-hmm.
It's always nice to have that type of thing.
Oh yes.
Well, when that movie was out and around, the kids on the street used to recite my lines back to me.
Really?
For a walk in Central Park, and a bunch of kids would be walking by, and they'd say, "Hey, how come every time you call the cops, they've never come here?" It was really a big thing, at that point in time.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah.
So after you did another 48 hours, you did Little Noises and then films here and there. Did it get tough for you to get movie roles after a while?
Yeah, it did. As I'm sure you've heard this before, is that, as you get older, and you're not the same type anymore because you've aged, the roles, the possibilities for roles gets more and more slender. And it did become difficult. And I don't know exactly why. I mean, it seems to be true of almost all of my friends that are also in this business.
Mm-hmm.
And, we're all hoping for a resurgence now as we move into a completely different, role. Now I'm not going to be the cute bartender anymore. I'm going to be the drug-dealing grandmother or something,
Ooh, I like that.
Right,
Mm-hmm.
It did become more difficult. It was very difficult for me to get an agent, even after another 48 hours, because I had such a strange, they couldn't figure out, was I German, was I American, was I what was I?
Mm-hmm.
I only lived in Europe for a few years. I don't know why it confused them so much. But, I didn't go to acting school. I didn't have a lot of the credentials that, they supposedly were looking for. And so I got most of my work through people that I knew.
Mm-hmm.
And quite frankly, when the AIDS crisis hit New York, a lot of the people that I knew that were working in the business and that were helping me, they died.
Oh.
And that was a really devastating thing, not just for me, but for many, many people. You know, there were a lot of people that were casting directors and producers and showrunners and directors. They passed away. You only need one or two or three of those people who are really helping you to disappear for it to make it quite an impact.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, wow. That's sad.
Yeah. But, you know, that's how I got more and more into teaching and wrote my book. Are you aware of my book, Acting for Film?
Oh, yeah. When did you decide you were going to write that book?
Well, that was another one of those stories that I got a phone call and someone asked me if I had ever thought I'd want to write a book, and I was like, are you kidding? And they turned out to be a really, you know, important publisher that knew about my work at the School of Visual Arts, so teaching directors how to act. And they proposed that I write a book about it, and so I did. It's weird, huh?
Mm-hmm.
People are always calling me up and asking me this. I'm not running after them, but. And I just recently did a second edition with a foreword with Ian McKellen.
Oh, nice.
Very nice, yeah. And that just came out in 2018. So that's a new edition with all the digital, you know, media stuff in it. And
Mm-hmm.
let me just check my cell phone battery. Hang on.
Okay.
Oh, we're good.
Okay.
Yeah, and so writing a book was that was really quite an investment in time.
Yeah.
It was quite. If you're a comedian and you write your material, you know that like you have an idea for something and you think, okay, this is great, I could do this. And then when you really start to work on it, it takes up a lot of time and energy and concentration.
Huh. Yeah. I mean, I know some people, they spend like 3, 4, 5 years writing one book, you know?
Yeah, the original book, I would say from the time that I, you know, decided to go ahead with it to the time it was published, it was about two or 3 years, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because, you know, it's not like you write it and then you're done. You know, there's all the editorial process and, you know, copy edits and et cetera, et cetera. And the actual writing of it is, it takes a tremendous amount of discipline. I am actually shocked that I did it. When I look back at it, I mean, I just did did a second edition, but that's a much smaller job. You know, it only took me a year to do that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big commitment. It's not a huge financial, you know, unless you're like Grissom or Stephen King, you don't make a tremendous amount of money from the books. But what it does do is it gets your name out there and your work, and it's a product that is something to be proud of, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, in this business, as you're, I'm sure, well aware, you keep having to decide, are you going to stay in the business?
Yeah.
How are you going to keep yourself alive creatively? And so that was one of the ways, the teaching and the writing was one of the ways that I kept myself going when I wasn't acting a lot. But because I'm a member of the Actors Studio, I'm always involved in projects and working on my acting and involved with the acting in a productive way. It's just not for the public. You know, it's... I worked on Who's Afraid of Virginia roles for like 2 years, you know, with Alec Baldwin helping us and Ellen Burstyn helping us to, you know, develop the characters and work on the various scenes, and we're not doing a production, but we're working on the characters and presenting them to the membership and exploring it, and it's very, very creative work. So it keeps your juices going, and you keep growing as an artist and as an actor in between your jobs.
Mm-hmm. You'll do any plays anymore?
I do plays. If they pay me, I don't want to do plays for free, which seems to be a fairly easy thing to do. The last play I did was Good People, which we did the regional premiere of it in Vermont at the Dorset Theatre Festival. It's a rather famous place, the Dorset Theatre Festival, and it was it's a really great experience to be in a play and be on the stage. I like it very much. But it doesn't always pay very well, especially if you're doing the regional theaters. So it's kind of you have to be positioned in a situation where you can do it.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's not where you can still pay your bills and your rent. It's one of the best kept secrets about the theater is that they don't pay you very much.
Yeah.
And unless you're on Broadway or in one of the bigger theaters, you're making like $300-400 a week.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not a lot of money for a completely full-time job. Especially if you have New York City rent to pay.
Yeah.
So everything comes back to the stupid economics. It's really a drag. But the play thing, every now and then I try and audition and see what's out there. What am I good for? Again, I'm changing now. I'm changing into roles that I never thought about. And that's kind of exciting as an actor, but it's also it's like, wow, oh great, they're doing I don't know, some play, and I go, oh, I love that play, and then I go, oh wait a minute, I can't play the lead female anymore because I'm not 30. I have to play. Oh, I play her mother. Oh, okay. I'm adjusting. I'm a little slow in adjusting.
Are you currently teaching any workshops?
I am. Actually, on next Friday, March 22nd, I'll be teaching at the Actors Connection in New York City.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the beginning of, I hope, a beautiful relationship with them. That's a place where casting directors and agents give workshops, and now they're moving into giving technique workshops for actors. It's a very well-known place. There's one in LA as well, the Actors Connection. Mm-hmm. And I'll be teaching a one-day workshop called Acting with Intuition, how to use your intuition and create your imaginary reality for your characters for film work. And that'll be next Friday. Yes, it's coming Friday, the 22nd. And then after that, probably we'll be working on creating some kind of ongoing, like 3 or 6 week workshop, where it's once or twice a week for 3 or 6 weeks, that's what the plan is. And on March 29th, I go to Europe, and I go to Germany, and I teach at the Film Academy. I'll say the name, but it's going to sound weird. Bad Württemberg in Ludwigsburg, Germany. I know it sounds like yeah. But yeah, it's a very famous film academy. It's one of Europe's biggest film academies. It's where Roland Emmerich went. You know who Roland Emmerich is?
Yeah, he did Independence Day.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I worked with him too a few years ago. He did a TV pilot that unfortunately was not picked up called broadcast, so it's languishing somewhere. But he went to school there, and it's a very famous academy. And I go there twice a year, and I teach a acting for film workshop, an intensive workshop, 8 hours a day for like 2 weeks. And this year, for the first time, I'm going to also be teaching for the directors. So I've got a bunch of directors, and I'll teach them how to act so that they understand what actors need. That's one of my specialties. I teach directors how to act.
Nice.
So I'll be doing that. I'm excited about that. That's a fun time for me. I get to go to Europe. I get to see my friends. And before I teach that course, I'm going to England for a week, and I get to see Ian McKellen, who's my friend, and get to hang out with him and, see him and doing one of his. He's doing 80 performances in 80 different theaters for his 80th year. He's turning 80 this year.
Wow.
And I'm going to see one of them in Folkestone, which is in the south of England. So I'm very excited about all of that. It's nice work if you can get it, as they say.
Yeah, it sure sounds like it. Wow, you get to travel and meet interesting people and all that stuff.
And see, and get paid to see my friends. That's what's really cool, too, is because before and after I'm teaching, in this all-expenses paid trip with very good salary, I get to hang out with, go visit some of my friends who are in Frankfurt. And I'm not going to Berlin this time, but sometimes I teach in Berlin as well. And so then I get to hang out in Berlin. And, I love Berlin. I was there for many years. I love Frankfurt, too. I lived in Frankfurt for 2 years. And so I get to see the people that I did theater with 30 years ago who are still doing theater in Frankfurt and, still performing and writing and being creative. And we hang out and have a blast, We just have a blast.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get too... The only thing that would be better is if I was making a movie. But, if I was doing the same thing, going on the same trip, except that instead of teaching, but maybe like after I was teaching, because I really enjoyed teaching and it's a gas, it would be great if then, I was making a movie or a television series. That's what we're going to put that in the stratosphere, make it go like that.
Mm-hmm. Does it pay very well?
What, the teaching?
Yeah.
Yes, it does. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it does.
Ah.
It pays quite well, and and I get to fly to Europe and stay in a hotel and eat out and do all that fun stuff that we like to do.
Mm-hmm.
Plus, I really, really love the work.
Yeah.
So, and the fact that they cherish the work so much is really great. I've taught here. I've taught in MIT and in Massachusetts. I've taught at City College. I taught at the School of Visual Arts for 20 years. What happens in those places is that their budgets get wacky, and then they don't have the money to teach, to have these courses. Mm-hmm. And until they get the money again or figure out what's going on, I'm not teaching there. But that's okay. I love the European gigs, man. I love going to Europe. Why didn't you invite me out to your city there, wherever you are in California? I'll come and teach.
It's funny because I live over here in Redding, California, and there's like nothing going on over here, and I'm trying to move to LA like later in the year and stuff. So I'm like,
Is Redding up north of San Francisco? Is that where Redding is?
It's about 3.5 hours away from San Francisco.
North, right?
Yeah, north.
Is it Humboldt County or?
I don't know. I think so. I think it's close to Humboldt County.
Yeah, because I've been to Garfield or somewhere. I lived in San Francisco for a year.
Mm-hmm.
That's when I did the Ballad of Little Joe. That's how I met Ian McKellen.
Oh. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm born and raised in San Francisco, and I was so happy to leave because it's just not what it used to be. It's a terrible place now.
I've heard that. We were in San Francisco, meaning my husband and I, 92 to 93. And we lived in south of Market on Clara Street.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great. We had a loft, and I had never been to San Francisco before, and it was really wonderful. But I've heard that it's completely different now.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's homeless people all over the place, and there's just a lot of weird people walking around. I mean, it was always like that, but it's just gotten so much worse now, and I don't know who to point the finger at, to be honest.
Well, that's the shocking thing for a New Yorker in California in general. Because you have such nice weather,
Mm-hmm.
when the homeless people go out, they stay out, and they stay for a long time. They don't have to leave, but the winter doesn't come. Here in New York, they have to figure something out for the winter because it's too cold to be outside. So you don't have the same kind of enclaves, They have to move somewhere. I don't know where they go. I don't know if they go into shelters or if they go underground. But it's shocking in California. Like, I remember the first time I was in Santa Monica, it's like these whacked-out homeless guys have been there since they got back from the Vietnam War,
Yeah.
And, they haven't left the beach. And that's a very different sort of problem with the good weather that you guys have.
Yeah. It's really sad, but I just hope in the next 5 years or so it'll get better,
Yeah, I hope so too. I hope so for everybody. I mean, housing, people should have a place to live.
Mm-hmm.
Our mayor was shipping the homeless people to different states.
Wow.
And giving them money, like housing them in upstate New York and in places where it was cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
And that was part of his, and of course those communities were not happy.
No.
They were not happy about that. And, I'm very lucky because I live in a building called Manhattan Plaza.
Mm-hmm.
And Manhattan Plaza was created by the performing arts unions
Mm-hmm.
to be subsidized housing for the performing arts. So it was a big high-rise building on 42nd and 43rd Street,
Mm-hmm.
not far from Times Square, that was built in the 70s when the neighborhood was really bad, and they were supposedly luxury apartments. I mean, luxury apartment means something different now than it did then. But, they're nice apartments with terraces and, tall buildings, 46 stories, 2 of them. And they couldn't rent them because nobody wanted to live in this neighborhood. And it was really like, what was going to happen? What were they going to do? And the performing arts unions got together
Mm-hmm.
and proposed a deal to take him over. So I live in a building that's filled with people that work on Broadway and musicians and set designers and singers and actors and dancers and jazz musicians, and it's great. Our rent is figured out by how much money we earn,
Mm-hmm.
and we can write off all of our performing arts expenses, and it's a really, really special place. It has the list is closed. I was on the list for 10 years to get in here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't have cheap rent, but I have affordable rent, and I'm I'm not afraid of the landlord throwing me out. You know.
Wow.
Which is certainly not the case with my friends that live in rent-stabilized apartments in the Lower East Side and everywhere. They're constantly afraid that their landlord is going to get rid of them, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know.
Shouldn't be like that.
That happened to us, me and my mom in the Bay Area. We practically lived in her car for almost 4 years until we found this place 2 years ago.
Wow.
Yeah.
What a drag. And where in San Francisco were you?
San Mateo.
Uh-huh.
That's where I'm born and raised. And yeah, it just got so bad over there with the homeless situation. And those organizations that are like designed to help the homeless, they don't do jack shit for the white person. They do it for the minorities only, and it's just so terrible.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you're keeping yourself together, and you've got a roof over your head now, and it's time to regroup. That's the name of the game, man, is to regroup and stay creative. I heard one of your earlier podcasts where you were saying, that you were living up there, and you start trying to stay creative by doing these, interviewing people and doing these podcasts. So
yeah,
that's what you have to do. Now you have to find some kind of like weirdo bar and get up there and do your stand-up.
Oh, I tried doing that. This is a very weird town of political correctness, and so like I don't mix very well with them here. But yeah, I mean, I've started this podcast because it's my only means of show business at the moment until I go to LA. And I'm coming off of recovering from a car accident 4 years ago.
Uh-huh.
I've had an incredible journey the last few years.
Oh, I see. Well, yeah. Well, you have to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It's never over.
Nope.
And I think that's one of the great things about being a creative person is that you just always have to find a way to keep at it,
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So I should get going pretty soon now. I'm getting hungry.
I am too. Really quickly though, before you go, there's this game that I like to play with guests sometimes, where I ask 4 silly questions, you answer them, and then you ask me the same question right after you answer, and I answer them.
All right.
Okay.
Your questions.
4 silly questions. Cathy, are you ticklish?
Yes.
Okay. And now you ask me.
Oh, I see. Are you ticklish?
I am very ticklish. Is your belly button an innie or an outie?
Innie. Is your belly button an innie or outie?
It's an innie. What color are your toenails painted?
They're not painted. Oh, no. Wait. What color are your toenails?
Not painted. And here's my favorite one. Is there any stinky smell that makes you gag?
Hard-boiled eggs.
Oh, those are bad.
Any stinky smell that makes you gag?
Probably when I was recovering from my accident, I had pretty bad athlete's foot for like 6 months. That was the worst.
Yeah, I feel your pain. I get athlete's foot sometimes in between my toes.
Really?
And it's like, yeah, just one of them. And it's like, ew. So I feel your pain.
Yeah, you probably
anyway.
You probably go to the gym a lot.
There's one in my building.
Oh, mine too.
Oh, good.
Well, Cathy, this was so awesome. I'm so glad that we got to do this. And,
I know.
you know,
Listen,
hmm
keep in touch.
oh, yes, I would love to keep in touch with you. You're a sweet lady, I have to say.
Thank you. And you made my day when you sent me the email and asked me to do this. It was really nice.
Oh, yes, absolutely. And I was glad I could find you, too, because certain people, I can't find them for a long time, and then I find them at last minute. I was like, how was I not able to find them the first time? You know?
Well, the time wasn't right. That's it.
Yeah,
You know?
I found you at the right time.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Got me at the right time. If it would have been a week later, I would have been gone. I was too busy.
Yeah. All right, Cathy. Well, you have yourself a happy St. Patty's Day, and I will be in touch with you. I'll send you this after I upload it.
Great, thanks. Happy St. Patty's Day to you too. Thanks for celebrating it with me.
Yes, and have a safe trip.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, there you have it. Cathy Haase. Ain't she a sweetheart? Thank you so much, Cathy. You really are a sweetheart. And it's funny, people are not like their characters, and stuff, especially when they play like a tough-edged, character and stuff. And then when you meet them, they're really sweet and all. Cathy, you certainly were one of those people. If you like this video, everyone, please subscribe to my YouTube channel. Add me as a friend on Facebook. Join my Tommy Kovac comedian page on Facebook. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram and all that fun stuff. Well, that's all the time we have this week on Splat from the Past. Until next time, this is Tommy Throwback Kovac saying, there's no shame in living in the past, because the present sucks. Happy St. Patty's Day, everyone. Rest in peace, Dick Dale. Later, dudes.